Chapter 9 Kisses and Kitchens. Hogwarts turns from winter to spring with as much fanfare as one would expect. The grounds bloom, no longer white wasteland, and the whooping willow shivers the last pieces of ice from its branches to make room for new leaves. By all accounts, it should be a happier time. The biting cold no longer gnaws at their bones, and with end of the year exams looming, students gather on the lawn more often than they linger inside. Their books are spread out around them, quill deep in and out of inkpots. Why did I do this to myself? Evan mutters from where he lies on the grass, his head in Barty's lap and a book in his hand. It's an advanced potions textbook, Newt's level, just as all of Regulus's are. Barty, on the other hand, leans back on his elbows, face tilted up to the sun and a small smile on his face. You and Reg are overachievers, he muses, running his finger through Evan's hair. Should have been like me and opted for no Newts. Regulus glares out of the corner of his eye. Academic excellence is important to him, no matter how much he might complain about exams. The irritation fizzles out, replaced by a strange pang in his gut when he notices the way Barty's fingers slip through Evan's blonde lock, soft and gentle and tender. Cheeks hot, Regulus looks back to his own textbook, quill gripped tight in his hand. Not all of us have parents in high places. We've told you that. Barty shrugs and reaches out to ruffle Regulus's hair too. It's a sweat to his wrists, sharp and true. Barty hisses before he laughs out loud. Oh, Reggie, you were never going to let that one go, are you? Reg is right, Evan says, turning the page of his book. Merlin, what would I ever need to make a wolfsbane potion for? I don't even know any werewolves. Yes, you do. Regulus fights the urge to blurt, his thoughts drifting to his brother's boyfriend. Instead, he replies, I'm sure there's a reason it's on the curriculum. Sure, Barty says with a snort. It's on there to get in the way of my sex life. Evan reaches up to smack Barty's bicep at the same moment Regulus makes a gagging noise. Can you do not go 5 minutes without complaining that our schoolwork is getting in the way of you getting late? Regulus dips his quill back in the inkpot by his knee. When he sets it against his textbook to make more notes, there's nothing there. Ev, do you have any ink? All out, mate, sorry. Evan gives him an apologetic glance. Pretty sure everyone is out of ink right now. Even Hogsmeade is back-ordered, last I heard. Most are getting it from home. Regulus groans and drops his quill, then his textbook, and with a defeated sigh, flops on his back in the grass. I feel like my head is going to explode. He would give anything for Pandora to be out of her charms class to keep him company. He loves his friends, but being their third wheel is becoming harder to swallow. He doesn't begrudge them their love, but he sometimes wishes they behaved like just friends, so he didn't feel so uttered in their presence. Is it selfish? Probably, but he feels what he feels. And it's not as if he has any control over it. What time are you leaving this Friday? Evan flips another page of his book, and Barty returns to running his fingers through blonde locks. I think Dumbledore said the party should be ready around 3. Why? Just wondering, did you get James a present? Evan's eyes dart to Barty, a knowing glint there that Regulus doesn't want to think about. Not yet. He throws an arm over his eyes to block out the sun against his lids. This weekend is James's birthday, And thanks to the Potter's exceptional relationship with Dumbledore, Regulus gets to go home on Friday afternoon. He won't have to return until Sunday evening. I'm not sure what to get him, and I don't think I'll have time to go shopping since the surprise party is on Friday night. What if you ask Effie or Monty to pick up something on your behalf? Barty suggests. Regulus shakes his head. The grass is cool against his skin where it grazes his ears. I want it to be something from me. A personal thing, you know? Barty barks a laugh. Even outside is far too big. I don't have a crush on James Potter, he says. I don't have a crush, but I want him to get a special gift. A personal thing, you know. Merlin, Reg, just kiss him already. Keep your voice down, Regulus hisses, punctuating each word with a sharp poke to Barty's rib. I don't need the entire school to know about it. A bit of silence. Oh, he's made an epic mistake. Evan and Barty turned their heads in perfect synchronization, their eyes round and so bright. Triumph in Barty's, shock in Evan's. Regulus wants the grass to grow tall, wrap around his body and bring him right down into the earth. Forget I said anything, he mumbles, turning away. Except Evan is fast. Regulus has always thought he could be a seeker if he had any interest in Quidditch at all, and grabs onto Regulus's shirt with a firm hand. You do not get to drop that and just walk away. Are you serious? We were just joking around, but do you really like him? I wasn't joking, Barty argues, but Evan makes a shushing noise. Reg, do you seriously have a crush on James? Regulus swallows, anxiety turning a knot in his stomach. He sits up and crosses his legs, uncrosses them only to cross them again. Please, don't make me admit it out loud. Barty squints, his face all screwed up with equal parts accusation and curiosity. You haven't even really admitted it to yourself, have you? That's not true. Oh, it so is. I think the whole cosmos would have to implode before you admitted to have a crush on anyone. But wait, this explains so much. Barty sits up, his hand settling on Evan's chest as he leans in conspiratorially. I don't think you've ever had a real relationship. At first, we thought it was because you were gay. Then it turns out you are gay. But then you came out and still didn't date, except for a few guys here and there for, what was it, babe? 3 days? Evan nods once. Longest was for 4 days, Barty exclaims, though his voice is hushed now. It was longer than 4, Regulus argues. He's flushed from head to toe. He knows his cheeks are bright red. Besides, there's no point in admitting it. James has a boyfriend now. He's not interested, so I just need to move on. Get over it. Get over him. The thought alone makes him wanna to impale himself on his wand. It might hurt less. Are they getting married? Barty asks pointedly. Regulus rears back. What? No. Well, I don't think so. Sirius told me a few weeks ago in a letter. Barty waves a dismissive hand in the air. Okay, so I doubt it's that serious. I bet they are not even official. Probably just dating, screwing around. At that, Regulus's gut shrivels up like raisin. He doesn't want to think about James screwing around with someone else. Merlin, impalement by wand sounds better with each passing second. Do you think he'll bring this guy around? Since it's his birthday weekend and all. Evan's expression softens when Regulus noticeably curls in himself. Reg, you don't have to go, you know. You can tell them you want to stay here. I can't avoid the reality of it forever. The whole thing is a pipe dream. James and I? Really? I've seen who he dates. Tall, pretty girls, and every guy who looks nothing like me. I'm not his type. He's not interested. Barty sets his hand gently between Regulus's shoulder blades, then shifts to grip the back of his neck. It's his loss, Reg. You're fucking brilliant. You're an incredible Quidditch player. Your humor is unmatched, although a little niche. Also, you're gorgeous. If it wasn't for Evan's existence, it might have been you and me. He winks, which pulls a tentative laugh from Regulus. I mean it, Reg. James is missing out. This new guy? I bet he looks no better than a wet sock. A wet sock that's dripping with Flitch sweat, Evan adds emphatically. Oh, that's disgusting. Regulus wrinkles his nose and feels a slight pull at the corner of his mouth. Our point is, you can do better than James Potter, but he can do better than you, yeah? Barty gives him a gentle shake. His eyes are blazing. Intense. Barty would stake his life on this claim, and that does make Regulus feel a bit better. It's nice to have someone in his corner. Have fun this weekend. Wish him a happy birthday and all that nicely shit you will have to do. But don't give him a special present. Let his boyfriend do that. You're gonna be the hottest thing at the surprise party, and James is gonna wish he'd slap his name on you instead of this other guy. Regulus fiddles with the stray thread on his trousers. I don't know if I'll be the hottest thing there, but I'll do my best. Evan pats his knee and gives him a bright smile. Get some proper sleep, Reg. The dark circles under your eyes aren't doing you any favors, that's for sure. But once those are gone, you'll be a knockout. Let the record show that Regulus is not and will never be a fan of portkeys. The hooking sensation tugging behind his navel, the whole whirling motion, the harsh landing. Yeah, on a good day, travel by portkey makes him slightly dizzy. This time, considering how tired and out of it he's been feeling, it's a miracle he doesn't hurl his lunch all over the front door of his brother's flat. It takes him a moment to settle enough to remember he's supposed to knock. His last lesson ended half an hour ago, which means he cut his arrival time pretty close. James will be here any minute, and Regulus doesn't want to accidentally ruin the surprise by being caught loitering outside the flat. Reggie, get in here, Sirius exclaims when he opens the door. He grabs Regulus's arm and pulls him inside the apartment, gesturing quietly. Quick, find a place to hide. It's pretty packed already, but maybe in the coat rack? I don't think anyone's claimed that one. Mooney, get the lights, everyone's here. Regulus rolls his eyes, but dutifully parts the coats and cloaks hanging from a rack by the wall. He steps behind the clothes, adjusting them by the best he can. It's not the greatest hiding spot, and he's a bit too close to the front door, but the point isn't to fully conceal his presence. It only has to be good enough for them to jump out and shout surprise the second James walks in. Sirius gives him a thumbs up before he dives behind the sofa out of sight. For a few intensely awkward minutes, Regulus stands behind clothes that smell like a combination of the three men who live in this flat. He scratches at the sleeve of his thin jumper, irritated he didn't have time to change into something better. Hottest thing at the party is not at all what he is while they wait for James. Effie and Monty are here somewhere. Remus is probably behind the sofa with Sirius, Marlene, Dorcas, and Lily. Regulus smiles to himself when he catches a flash of red hair behind the kitchen counter, like she adjusted her position and the crown of her head came into the view for a second. He's glad he came. If nothing else, he'll have the chance to hang out with Dorcas and the girls for a bit. Pandora already made him promise to report back on Lily's every word, which Regulus doesn't mind, but the door opens with the bang when it hits the wall. This truly should have been warning enough that something wasn't quite as it should be. James isn't the sort to go around banging doors for no good reason. It isn't his style. But Regulus doesn't have time to wander, to look away, to do anything but watch as James and some fucking guy stumble into the flat attached by their mouths. Everything moves in excruciating slow motion. Regulus's gut clenches like a fist. He's dipped in hot tar, all of him burning, but he's stuck right where he is. Unaware he has an audience, James pushes the guy, because he's undoubtedly the one from Sirius's letter, against the nearest wall and knee slotted between his thigh. And of course, because the universe didn't hate him enough already, it's a wall just a foot away from where Regulus hides behind coats and clothes and scarves, all of which smell like James. Regulus has wondered before what James looks like when he's kissing someone. How his face might move as he leans in. What sort of soft noises he might make. Regulus has imagined it, on occasion, because as good as he is at suppressing stuff, he does have some weaknesses. So yeah, he's pictured it in his mind's eye. Turns out he wasn't too far off the mark. He just never thought he'd find out this way. Because James smiles when he kisses. He laughs now. Let those laughs turn into quiet sound that Regulus doesn't want to call moans, even though he knows they are. He heard them often before Barty and Evan did him the courtesy of putting silencing charm on their bed. Regulus never thought about hands when kissing before, but he realizes now this was an oversight on his part. James has hands that grip and pull and wander. Incessant, insatiable, in every place that doesn't belong to Regulus. It's possibly the worst thing he's ever seen in his entire life. He wants to bleach his eyes until they shrivel up and fall right out. No, he needs to extract this memory from his brain, cut it out like a growth and set it on fire. Anything, so he doesn't have to live with the curse of this sight. Surprise! Sirius bellows at the top of his lungs. He scrambles over the back of the sofa as if this situation is still salvageable. He's so loud that James jerks away from the guy immediately and whirls around, looking as pale as his complexion allows. Surprise! Happy birthday! People hurry out of their hiding places, making noise and a big show to cover up the excruciating awkwardness of the moment. Lily is swinging her arms around and Marlene is waving at him. Dorcas looks amused. Remus and Peter seem to be trying to get everyone to gather closer to the door. It's a mess. It's chaos. Regulus is still behind the coat rack. James blinks and looks at the small crowd in wild confusion. Sirius throws himself at him, hugging him and laughing. Should have known that getting Rafa to act as decoy was a terrible idea. The guy next to James, Rafa, grins, completely unperturbed as Sirius calls him. Says he should have known better because he was aware there were people in this flat waiting for them to show up. It's jovial. Friendly even. As if Sirius is comfortable enough with him to jokingly tell him off. Regulus briefly entertained hexing him. He's still concealed by the coats because his body isn't responding to his brain's signal. He should move now before someone remembers and it gets weird. He's the only one still hidden, but no. He can't hex James's boyfriend. Reg! It's all too quick now. What happened to the slow motion? Sirius yanks him out of his hiding place by his shirt sleeve and throws an arm over his shoulders. I thought they would crush you back there for a second. Wouldn't put it past James to decide a coat rack is a good place as, yeah. Regulus cuts him off. His voice is like molasses. He wants to disappear if he's honest, but he can't, so he gathers himself and mutters a half-hearted, "Happy birthday, James," to a broad, familiar back. Idly, he won't have heard him, and Regulus can quietly vanish into the background. Except the universe has already decided she hates him. James, who had been in the process of apologizing to his parents for the display, falls silent abruptly and slowly turns around to face him. He takes one look at Regulus and blenches. His face just does something weird. A little spasm overtakes his muscle before they settle into a whole load of nothing. It's disturbing. James is the most animated person Regulus has ever met. Reg. Hi. Regulus does a little wave, then fervently hopes for someone to chop off his arm so he can never do it again. Surprise, I guess. He laughs nervously. James stares. Sirius shifts his weight on his feet, frowning a bit. Behind James, Effie's large brown eyes narrow, but before she can say anything, Rafa steps in and sticks a large hand out. Because of course he has enormous nice hands. Veiny hands. Hands that are probably magic all on their own and "We haven't met," he says. Oh, he has an accent. Brilliant. Wonderful. Fan-fucking-tastic. I'm Raphael. Lovely to meet you. I'm miserable, ready to die. Regulus. Not only does Raphael have enormous hands, but he's tall and handsome and has the most ridiculous biceps Regulus has ever seen. If he wasn't fighting for his life, Regulus might even be attracted to him. Can you imagine? The idea strikes him as hilarious, and then his horror of all horrors, giggling. He's giggling, and people are staring at him like he's lost his mind, which, quite frankly, is rather accurate. Sorry, he says. His laugh takes a turn. Sudden and sharp. He's coughing now, one hand over his mouth. Sorry, Reggie, you okay? Sirius calls after him, and it feels like déjà vu. How many times must he run away from people to violently cough up flowers? What is his life? What did he do to deserve this, and why now? Why here? Isn't it enough that he had to watch James's tongue inside someone else's mouth? The bathroom door slams shut behind him. It's a biblical flood. There are so many petals falling from his lips that Regulus is choking. He's gasping, clawing at his throat, his chest. He feels as though something is raking its claw up and down the inside of his ribs, tearing at bone and sinew. Every time they sink in, they release more petals. They are everywhere, piling up too fast. His breastbone hurts something fierce, and Regulus thinks wildly that he wants it out. He needs someone to carve him open and get it out. Please, he croaks. It's weak. A whine, a whisper. Pain overwhelms him. His legs won't hold him upright much longer, not even with the support of the wall. He can't breathe, and for a moment Regulus wonders if he's going to die on a bed of flowers, choked to death by the mystery he hasn't managed to figure out. Banging on the door cuts through his haze of panic. Disorientated, Regulus blinks, struggles to regain his wits. It's serious, maybe. He doesn't know. He's on all fours, though he has no recollection of how he got there. There are petals up to his wrists. One moment, he croaks desperately. His voice is wrecked. The petal waterfall is subsiding, but the tremble all over his body persists. He's sweaty and gross and weak. Reggie? I said 1 moment. What does he do? He can't be caught like this, but knowing his brother, Regulus has maybe a minute before Sirius kicks the door open. To see his little brother shaking on hands and knees, surrounded by a puddle of flowers. And that's... Regulus's jeans don't have enough space to carry all these petals. He doesn't have Merlin. His jars are at Hogwarts, and he doesn't. No, no, please, no. He's got to get rid of them, but he can't. I'm coming in. No, wait! Regulus's hands shake so violently he drops his wand. It's swallowed by the blanket of petals, and it takes him a moment to locate it again. A sob wrenches itself out of his quivering lips. If he thinks about it for a second, he won't be able to do it, and it will all unravel. He needs this to stay a secret for a little longer, more than he needs to save 100 petals. Before he can stop himself, he whispers a spell and watches the petals disintegrate into dust. It feels like someone has reached inside of him and scooped up a piece of his very essence. It's wrong. A violation. Reeling, he struggles to his feet, fights for composure, pulls it over himself like a mask. When Sirius finally gets the door open, Regulus is on his feet and there are no flowers in the bathroom. "Are you okay?" asks Sirius. Behind him, Effie's concerned face watches Regulus with an assessing look. "What happened? You took off running and—" "I was a bit sick last week. The lies come so easy now. Bad cold. It's fucking freezing in Scotland, in case you can't remember. Still have a lingering cough. It's nothing serious." Sirius sighs and runs a hand through his hair. "Do you want to go home? I'm sure James will understand." "I said I'm fine," Regulus grunts, as though he wasn't in hysterics a mere minutes ago. Behind Sirius, Effie tilts her head. Regulus has the horrible feeling she can see straight through his mask. Before she can ask difficult questions, he ducks under Sirius's arm and walks back to the living room. And the birthday party for the guy who just unknowingly shattered his heart to smithereens. When James was younger, he read about a time turner somewhere in a book. It's a little object that can do exactly what it says on the tin. Turn back time. When he read about it, he didn't see the point in such a thing. What would he ever need to turn back for? He lives in the present and all mistakes made are things to learn from. Except he's grown up now, and now? Oh, now he understands why someone would want to undo their mistakes. Go back, stop themselves before it's too late, prevent the irreversible. It's his fault already. He didn't think it through. He told Raphael, "Remus and Sirius are giving me flat tonight." And Raphael asked, "Then do you want to go to a dinner for your birthday? Do something romantic, just us two." It seemed like the perfect plan. A nice dinner, a little walk in the park to set the mood, followed by sex that would blow his mind. Who was he to complain? Raphael would stay the night, make him breakfast in the morning, and he wouldn't try not to think about the ever-knowing, inexplicable guilt he feels when he's with Raphael. Except, even though it's his birthday, it seems the universe hates him more than he thought possible. This is made clear to him when lights flick on the same moment he shoves Raphael against a wall. At first, he's embarrassed. His parents are here for fuck's sake. His friends, who look far more amused by predicament than they should. Embarrassment is normal. He'll get over it. Except Sirius is calling out for Regulus. Regulus, who should be at Hogwarts. Regulus, who doesn't know about Raphael. Regulus, who can see this. Regulus, who James is trying so hard to forget he's putting himself under someone else. It's an attempt to force the feelings out, but it's not working. This much he knows when he turns to find Regulus staring at him, wide-eyed and white as shit, from the coat rack behind the door. Hardly an arm's length from where James just had his tongue down Raphael's throat. The thing is, when James is with Raphael, he doesn't think about Regulus much. He tries not to. Sometimes he sleeps, wishes Raphael's brown eyes were shades of green and gray. sees short chocolate hair and wants it long and silky black curls wound around his finger. For the most part, James succeeds in distracting himself. Raphael is, after all, a good boyfriend. He deserves someone who is proud of him. And James is, usually. When the reality of his guilt is off at Hogwarts and not staring at him, at the way he has an arm around Raphael's waist. It's taking everything in him not to jump away from Raphael, as though putting physical distance between their bodies could erase what just happened. James would very much like to be smitten by lightning right this second so he doesn't have to deal with this. With Regulus meeting Raphael, finding out about him, seeing them together, for some reason, the very notion strikes James as wrong. Fundamentally, appallingly wrong. And yet, before he can process what happened, he's speaking, introducing Regulus to his boyfriend and watching these two words collide. Raphael's hand envelopes Regulus, and James thinks, "Don't touch him." But then someone tugs at him, forces him away from the nightmare unfolding right in front of his eyes. If he could, James would turn it all back. He would tell Raphael to go home, ignoring his insistence. He would apparate himself here, step through the door all on his own, and be just as surprised, but without the permanent image of Regulus wide-eyed and clearly scarred. Unfortunately, he would have to commit several crimes to get his hands on Time Turner, and the magpies aren't likely to understand he simply had to erase the moment he's not brother, not friend, it's complicated, met his boyfriend but only a little because it's not really serious yet from the annals of history. It's another hour or two before he sees Regulus again. The party is in full swing, everyone mingling. His parents leave after a little while. Once they are gone, Sirius puts on a record and the whole place comes alive. Dorcas and Marlene command the dance floor, tagging the rest of them in. Remus dances with Lily, then Sirius, then Lily again, and even Raphael joins the fray. But not James. He finds Regulus in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with a beer bottle in his hand. His knuckles are white, and his eyes are a bit bloodshot. He seems lost in thought, his skin paler than usual. "Hey, Reg," James says softly as not to spook him. Still, Regulus startles. He turns to James, the rigid lines of his body clear under the baggy jumper. He has lost weight? "Hey, you don't want to dance?" "No, not really." Regulus sips from the bottle and seems to shrink farther in on himself, shoulders curved forward. "You can dance, though. Seems like everyone else is." James grabs a beer from the fridge, pops the cap off on the edge of the counter and takes a long drink. Merlin knows he needs it. He can usually tuck Regulus away when he's with Raphael, but tonight Regulus is here, in his flat and in his space. His head aches. How's school? Quidditch? The hinge of Regulus's jaw visibly clenches. Fine. Practice is going all right? Yeah. Do you have a new seeker lined up for when you leave? No. If James had a knife in his hand, he's fairly certain he could cut the air with it. From the set of Regulus's shoulder to the white knuckles grip around his beer bottle, James knows something isn't right. Reg, are you all right? I'm fine. You don't... I'm fine, James. Regulus sets the beer behind him and pushes off the counter's edge. Just tired, that's all. Between newts and Quidditch, it's a lot. I'm not in the mood to dance with your friends. James frowns. They are your friends too, Reg. Not all of them. Raphael. James flinches and takes another drink from his beer. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Regulus's gaze shifts to him, then quickly away. Why would you? Your love life has nothing to do with me. I know, but we talk, and I should have said something in a letter. James puts a hand in the pocket of his jeans, then takes it out, puts it back only to take it out again. Too much kinetic energy with nowhere for it to go. You shouldn't have had to find out like that. Like what? With his tongue down your throat? Regulus' tone is dry. Definitely not ideal, but it is what it is. Besides, I knew. Sirius mentioned it a while ago. James groans and runs a hand down his face. Of course Sirius mentioned it. Why wouldn't he? He tells Regulus everything, including details about James's dating life, apparently. He makes a mental note to strangle Sirius in his sleep later tonight. You didn't say anything in your letters. You didn't say anything in yours, Regulus points out. He lifts one shoulder in a half-hearted shrug. Like I said, it's none of my business. I've been dating too. James's stomach plummets right through the floor. Oh? Yep. I can't do anything serious because of the exams and Quidditch, but I've had a few dates at Hogsmeade. Regulus reaches to his beer again and knocks the rest of it back. You and Sirius told me to enjoy my last year, so I'm doing just that. Do you... Who are you dating? Do you have a boyfriend? Regulus smirks a little, eyes flashing. No, not yet. But I went to a date with a really sweet guy last week, so I might ask if he wants to go on another one. He's into Quidditch. It's easy to talk to him. James feels like he's swallowed razor blades. That's nice. That's nice, Reg. I'm happy for you. Just make sure they treat you well, yeah? The slightest falter in Regulus's expression. That mask slips for the briefest moment, too quick for James to catch before it's back in place. Less than a second. James isn't even sure it happened. Yeah, you too, James. Then he reaches into his back pocket and pulls out a small envelope. Here, happy birthday. A card? James quirks a brow. Regulus always get him elaborate, wonderful gifts. Hand-picked or handcrafted or some special thing in between. So a card? James takes it, of course, but it feels strange in his hand. Thanks, Reg. Sure. I'm gonna go find Dorcas. It was nice to see you. Regulus doesn't wait for James to respond. He disappears from the kitchen, leaving James standing there with an envelope clutched in hand. He opens it quickly, rips at the paper and gets to the card underneath. It's a simple thing. Nothing spectacular, and when he opens it, there's the punchline to a bad joke written inside, with a moving picture at the bottom of a tequila bottle dancing. It's signed, Regulus, impersonal, distant. Anyone could have given him this. The only distinct piece is Regulus's name at the bottom, but even this feels disconnected. Regulus, and nothing more. It's only a card, but it feels like someone's just told him the ending of a story, long before he even got to read the middle bits. You don't stand a chance. He doesn't want you. You are his brother's best friend and nothing more. Why spend time thinking of a gift for James when he's been busy with newts and Quidditch and dating? Merlin, the thought alone makes James want to smash his bottle on the counter's edge. You idiot, he mutters, glaring at the card. He waited too long. He chickened out. He let himself overthink every interaction, every uttered word, every soft smile. He should have made a move during Christmas. He should have made it last summer. He should have made it just now. But he didn't, and Regulus isn't interested. Never was, never will be. James leaves the card on the counter, grabs another beer, and heads back to the party with the intention of getting drunk enough to forget his own damn name. If Regulus had had a proper mother figure when he was little, he might have seen her coming. But he didn't. So when Effie knocks on his door and offers him a cup of coffee on Sunday morning, he doesn't realize it's a trap until it's too late. "I need to talk to you," she says, sitting on the bed. She has her own steaming mug. Tea, Regulus knows. Effie only drinks coffee with breakfast. "Is everything okay?" he asks. Perhaps if he feigns ignorance, she won't push him. He has nothing to do, so he has no real excuse to not sit next to her. With a sigh, he perches on the edge of the bed. Effie's kind brown eyes softens as she watches him. "You tell me," she replies. "You look tired. Are you sleeping well?" "Not really, but what else is new?" Regulus says with a dismissive shrug. "Should we talk to a healer?" For a brief second, he panics, wonders if she knows, until he remembers what he'd forgotten. He used to have a prescription for sleeping aids. He used them back when they first ran from Grimwald Place. His nightmares wouldn't let him sleep for longer than an hour or two at a time. Now that he thinks about it, it's not a bad idea. He could use the extra rest. "Do you... actually, can they maybe talk to Madame Pomfrey? I think I could use a good night's sleep." Regulus tells her, and it feels enormous. He's taking charge, taking control, doing something to feel better. It counts, right? Effie nods. "I'll talk to him. We'll be in touch with Poppy." "What's causing all this stress, do you know?" "Exams," he offers, because it's believable and normal and not at all terrifying. Effie seems to buy his fabrication. At the very last, she doesn't continue to push. She drinks from her mug, attention turned absent-mindedly towards the window. He's almost floating above the room with how proud of himself he is for having dealt with this so effectively. He wants to sigh with relief, until Effie's next words sent him crash-landing painfully back to reality. "What happened Friday night?" "Nothing." "Regulus." Sighing, he makes a show of shrugging it off. Effie's eyes on him don't let up. "Nothing really. It's just a lingering cough, like I told Sirius. I caught a cold during Quidditch practice, and I'm not 100% back to normal yet." Merlin. All he does is lie these days. Lies upon lies, piling up like the petals in his jars. Effie takes a sip of tea and turns, folding a leg under herself so she faces him. "And if I say I know you are lying?" Regulus pauses with his mug halfway to his mouth. He swallows the shame crawling up his throat, but he can't do anything about the heat in his cheeks. He's not sure when it happened, but at some point after he followed Sirius to the Potters, Regulus found himself wanting Effie's approval, seeking her gentle warmth, her smiles and praise. He is disappointing her, hasn't he? People don't like being lied to. You don't have to tell me. Effie sets her mug on the nightstand, then scoots closer to take Regulus's free hand in hers. "I just meant that I know there's more to it than you let on. And I'm here for you, Regulus. If something is bothering you or hurting you, you don't have to face it alone. You can talk, and I can listen, or I can give you advice. But if you want to keep to yourself, then I respect your choice." "You are not..." Regulus' voice cracks. He looks away. Fuck. It's hard to do this. Some days navigating this new family he's been annexed to is easy. Other times, well, Regulus doesn't know how. He's not sure where he fits. He's not Effie's son, but she's the closest thing he'll ever have to a mother. And how does one talk to their mother? "You're not angry?" he asked after a moment. "I wish you trusted me enough to come to me with your problems, but I'm not angry you are exercising your right to privacy." Effie reminds him of James, earnest and respectful, wanting to help but not willing to overstep. Regulus wonders who he would be if Effie had been his mother for real, if he'd grown up in a home and not just a house. "I want to help, if you'll let me. I want you to know that I want to help." She releases his hand after a caring squeeze and reaches for her mug. "Should I leave?" "No," he blurts. It's been a long time since Regulus flinched at the sound of a door or at the raised voice. Effie is Venezuelan, so she speaks rather loudly when she fire calls her family or when she shouts for James or Monty. Regulus got used to it after a few months, but it still feels unnatural for him to be confronted with calm understanding instead of raging aggression by a parental figure. Effie sits, sips her tea and waits. She doesn't press, doesn't push. And maybe that's why Regulus suddenly says, "I'm exhausted all the time. I think the stress is getting to me. Newts and Quidditch and the end of school. What happens if I don't get a spot in a team, Effie? What am I supposed to do with my life after Hogwarts? I'm overwhelmed." "You're 17, Effie reminds him, smiling softly. "It's normal. I don't think there's a person alive who didn't feel this way when they saw the end of their schooling approaching." "But I don't have a plan B. If Quidditch fails, I'll be so lost." "You are lucky because you know what your dream is. Most people don't even have a plan A." Her smile grows. "And you have us. If Quidditch fails, and I don't think it will, but if it does, you can stay here until you decide what to do next. You are not alone, Regulus." Her words are a blanket on a cold night. They wrap around him, settling over his skin like a barrier. For a moment, he feels invincible. Nothing can touch him because he's not alone. Is that what it's like to have a mom? His throat is tight. His eyes sting. Effie drops one of her rings and bends over to pick it up. He knows she's giving him a second to find his composure. When did Effie learn to read him so well? Wildly, Regulus thinks he should show her the jars, the petals, but then Effie is upright again. His resolve weakens. The flowers are special to him, his secret. They are a part of him, and he, destroying the petals in the bathroom, fractured something inside him. Like he carved out a piece, and nothing fits in the void but darkness. He's had nightmares about it the past 2 nights. He dreams of roots and vines growing, twisting themselves in his bones, squeezing and splintering them until they are nothing but dust. In his nightmares, Regulus stands on a mountain of flowers stained with blood. He is dead, watching the scene from above like a ghost. His body is impaled on a thorn, held up by more flowers rising up to support the shell of him. A broken doll, all because he's destroyed his petals. That means a lot, Regulus manages. I know I'll be okay, but sometimes it's hard. Are your friends doing all right, Or are they stressed too? If school is getting to you, you can always ask for help, Effie tells him. You're a head boy. Minerva will listen if you tell her the workload is unsustainable. No, Regulus says quickly. No, that's all fine. We're coping. It's normal. Seventh year is hard for everyone. I want to do well, that's all. Effie looks at him strangely, but then her expression clears. Regulus, we love you no matter what. Even if you don't get a single newt, even if you don't make a league team, you're enough as you are. This time, Regulus can't stop the tear from spilling. It falls on his hand, fat and wet and damning. Here is proof of his weakness. He hates it. Wipes his face furiously, blinking the rest back. To his immense relief, Effie acts like it's not happening. She stands and sets a warm hand on his shoulder. Write to me if you are struggling. Or talk to Minerva. She seems intimidating, but she's really very kind. I'm sure you'll do brilliantly on your exams, but if you don't, that's okay. Swallowing Regulus nods. It's all he can do to keep himself from breaking down completely. Effie squeezes his shoulder once, then steps towards the door. And if that cough doesn't get better by Wednesday, I'm ordering you to go see Poppy. I'll ask her about it. Regulus looks at her, another tear clinging to his cheekbone. His breathing is shallow, but for once, he's not afraid. Thank you, he tells her earnestly. Effie smiles, and the door shut with a soft click behind her.